This is Brandon, I'm Sarah, and of course, our beloved Aiko. Frustrated by the ever-increasing cost of living, we sold everything, went out on a limb, and left our traditional life on land behind. We built a new kind of dream together, and have been living full-time in our homemade slice of paradise ever since. We are always learning new ways to navigate this unique life off the grid and on the water, so grab a drink and join us for the ever-evolving adventure that is keeping afloat. Floating cabins are quite a unique form of housing for many reasons, even beyond those that might first come to mind. Even when compared to similar but more familiar aquatic dwelling situations like sailboats or houseboats, there are a few things that really set them apart in a class of their own. First and foremost, of course, is the fact that they aren't navigable. These aren't actually boats, in any sense of the word. You're better off to imagine a regular old house on land picked up and plopped down on a dock. It's not quite that simple, but that's a lot closer to the reality of it than any comparison with a true houseboat. The fact that they're non-navigable also means that floating cabins are anchored differently than a houseboat or sailboat would be, given that they're meant to stay in the anchored spot somewhat permanently rather than temporarily for a fun day on the lake or a week in an anchorage. But one thing that floating cabins do have in common with any boat at anchor is that the type of anchor that's appropriate will always depend on the size and weight of the thing being anchored, the type of ground that the anchor is going to be making contact with, and of course, the local regulations. This week, we'll be sharing about how our own house is anchored, why that differs from how even our next door neighbors are anchored, and what a permanent anchoring process actually looks like when it's originally being done.
Never saddle a dead horse. This is what you're worried about slipping, right? So this is the saddle.
Today, we're over at our next door neighbor's house getting ready to set a brand new anchor for them. Their house, like most floating cabins on our lake, utilizes giant blocks of concrete for their anchor. This anchor is dropped way out in front of the cabin to pull it away from the rocky shore behind it. Then, the house is tethered off to that shoreline as well in two opposing locations to keep it from spinning around in circles or floating out too far towards the anchor. The result of this tug of war from all sides is a house that's held in one spot, even given wind from any direction. That said, sometimes a particularly gnarly storm can still cause these anchors to drag slightly. And given enough gnarly storms, eventually the anchor might drag far enough to put the house in a compromising position too close to the bank or another house, and a new and potentially heavier anchor needs to be dropped back in place of the original. And that is what we found ourselves working on today. I won't bore you too much with the details of how we know exactly where to drop the anchor, but the basic idea is that we use the Pythagorean theorem, yes, believe it or not, we found a use for that in real life, to determine the exact distance from the house, given a certain amount of cable and a certain depth of water, to drop the anchor. This isn't as important to get perfectly mathematically correct in shallower water where it's pretty easy to have more than enough rope or cable on hand than you could ever need. But given the depths of hundreds of feet of water we have in our harbor, if you drop that block and underestimate even by a foot how long that diagonal line of cable has to be at minimum, you could end up ripping the front porch right off the house. So hey, what's a little math hurt? But as fancy as the math that goes into it sounds, physically making it happen is pretty barbaric. Ooh, ooh! Alright, next up we are fixing up these back lines. Can you give me a real brief overview before you get started?
We are setting, because the new TVA standards, you can't tie to the trees, so we are going to, hold on a second, buddy. Okay. We are going to hammer drill some eye bolts into these big boulders to tie his back ropes to so that they're not on the trees.
Like ours, basically.
Just like what we're on.
Which brings me to our house. We are anchored differently than all the other floating cabins in our harbor with their concrete blocks, Not because we just wanted to be cool, but just because of the unique topography of the cove that we sit in. Unlike most of the houses on this lake that sit along the straight shoreline or in shallow coves, our house sits all by itself in a very sharp V-shaped cove. The owners of the house that used to be in this cove before us figured out that when the lake dropped in the winter and a significant portion of the cove was above water, you could drill eye bolts directly into the bedrock and use the actual mountain underneath you as your anchor. This doesn't work for the other houses because the bedrock in front of them is never exposed, only that behind them. But again, because of the shape of this cove, there is exposed rock both in front and behind us. So installing these attachment points to create that tug of war from all sides is possible. And in addition to an anchor point that you know will never drag, this method also saved us $5,000 or $6,000 when building this house, which at the time was pretty crucial for us to be able to afford building it in the first place.
Okay.
Which I am really excited to see, because basically that'll show us how ours were done, which we didn't do. It was already like that when we got there. Yeah, you're a guinea pig. But I'm pretty pumped because, yeah, I've never seen it done before either, so I'm right there with y'all.
That should get us there, right?
Hammer drill into the rocks.
With this.
The aforementioned hammer drill.
Hilti epoxy mix.
Okay.
Into the hole. And then we beat this down in there. And then it goes to here. That stuff hardens. It goes in the rock. The theory is you're pulling this way on it. So it's in that hole. The hole's only an 1/8 inch bigger than the rod.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to pull straight out. So the epoxy is more or less just to make you feel good.
I could have gone without knowing that.
When I worked in industrial plants, we set hundreds of these with like anchor bolts that thick that held huge motors. So, it's not like it doesn't work. I know it works.
Well, it holds our house, like the proof's in the pudding, but interesting. All right.
We want to thank our Patreons for sending us this air hose.
Yes, true. That was Glenn, I believe. Glenn Godden.
Glenn Godden sent us
brand new air hose that does not leak.
We're also having a hard time balancing while we still have the gap. That thing drives me absolutely insane. It's like it never quits because we accidentally poked a hole in the cord.
Oh my gosh. Aiko clearly does not have a fear of heights. I don't know how she does this. Yeah. She's a little mountain goat.
I've got another hammer drill, but I think it's a 3-wood too. We're gonna cut that much off because we got that much of a hole and it's plenty.
Wonder how long the ones at our house are. Hopefully we will never find out. All right, time to drill the second hole on the other side. I'm not too clear on why we don't just epoxy, like basically finish the whole first one and then finish the whole second one, but I think it has something to do with the drying time of the epoxy. I don't know. I'm just going along with it. Zero trash back here. Way to go, Glenn and Brenda. Keeping your backyard clean. Brenda's talking about how this whole thing is an OSHA violation. Putting the epoxy in. Oh, it's pink.
What color do you think it was gonna be?
Clear.
45 minutes of hammer drilling.
So what now? We wait.
right? 6 hours.
That's not how they did it on YouTube, but that's how we did it on Fontana Lake. Glenn told us maybe the drill bit didn't fit the drill, the different grooves. So Glenn, the doctor, came up with a great idea to cut the grooves off of it, which worked until we tried it. And it started spinning on the bit. So then we took the Metabo and we cut grooves into the bit so the drill would hold the bit.
Not the bit we kept on bouncing.
Now you tell me we did good. We fabricated our own drill bit holder there. All right, well that was all the fun for today there.
All right.
Yeah, we need to set stuff tomorrow, really.
Delicious and nutritious.
That was that one y'all taught me. Remember, it's been 20 years, so I just made up my own. Right? See, Frank always goes, no. Now, hey, now, I go on there.
Aiko song.
I like the best of Chacamofino Lane. Your grandma, my grandma, they were sitting by the fire. My grandma looked at your grandma and said, I'll set your flag on fire. Hey now, I go on there. Chacamofino, I like the best now, Chacamofino Lane. Look at that lady all dressed in red now, I go on there. She's not a lady, she's a killer machine, she's Chacamofino Lane. Hey now, I go on there. Chacamofino, I like the best now, Chacamofino Lane. I played that before, right? That's Aiko's song.
Yep, and there's another one back behind him, and then there's another one that went and flew behind Kegel's house, and they're all like working together. Brenda said to get some duck that's out there, and the duck keeps, you know, diving under the water as they do. Our neighbor had just called us and said about these bald eagles that are on the hunt right now, right outside our front porch. So cool. Okay, there it goes. There's one.
You want butter on yours, baby?
Yeah, and I made some eggs to go on one of them. Wow. Oh, it's a double wildlife sighting today. Heard this little guy chirping from inside. They do that when they're looking for their parents. Mom and Dad must be nearby. There they are. Look, he's over there. Where's she? Oh, reunited. What a beautiful silver lining on this otherwise quite dreary day. We are gonna make the most of this day nonetheless and get some stuff done. We got to winterize the Mastercraft. Boo. It's got to be done. And then we're gonna do a little bit of painting here at the house. There's some stuff here in the kitchen. The cabinets are looking really rough, and so is our electrical box back here. I'll show you when we get to all that. But yeah, time to do a little preventative maintenance.
We gotta winterize this because tomorrow it goes below freezing, so this old boat's got 4 plugs that you pull out of it, drain the water out, and then we're actually going to put marine antifreeze through it. What you're gonna do is I've unplugged the coil pack here so that it doesn't fire up. You're gonna turn the key on.
Okay.
I'm gonna pour this down into the impeller.
Try again?
It's not gonna crank.
Oh, just keep doing that?
Yeah.
Feels wrong. I don't like that. Start doing yoga with me, you wouldn't grunt like that. How was Gina today when you got your hair cut?
She was good.
Yeah.
She was upset she didn't get an invite to the wedding.
Oh, bet that was awkward.
I told her, hell, we didn't have nobody there.
Did you get all the hot Robbinsville goss?
I didn't ask. I stayed out of it. Alright, that plug goes in that hole where you can see through the boat there. That way, in case the lift fails, the boat can see.
That would be preferable.
Yeah.
I heard to resew that way.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right.
I think Glenn wants to tie his ropes up since all that wind's coming. But on the way over, I'd like to pull that water line down.
Sure. Wow, this feels good.
Keeps the rats out, supposedly. Rats love boat wires.
That's my peppermint essential oil. A little sprinkle throughout the boat before we go.
We'll put the top on it after the top dries.
Alrighty.
And it's winterized.
We bid you adieu for now. Found this in the Mastercraft. I wore this down the aisle for a little ring bearer. And we took it off of her once we all got in the boat to come back here. Now I don't know what to do with this because I kind of don't want to get rid of it, but it's tough in a tiny home to hang on to too many physical items that you know you'll never use again. Maybe we'll somehow turn it into decoration for the Christmas tree.
After winterizing the Mastercraft, we took a lap around the harbor to fix up the city water line and ensure it too was ready for our incoming winter weather. As the lake rises in the spring, the floating cabins and houseboats tuck back in towards the trees, and they drag the water line with them. So this time of year, as the water drops, that line ends up sitting on the newly exposed shoreline. No big deal until the air temps drop below freezing, of course.
Miss Bear back in her old stomping grounds at the surf shack. Good girl, you're a good helper. Come on. All right, it's time for our little kitchen cleanup here. This is long overdue. I'm embarrassed to even show you guys these images, but here is what our cabinets are looking like. Here's what our power box is looking like. We call it the power box because that's where our solar batteries are stored, amongst other things like tools. You know, one thing that I don't think that they talk about enough when it comes to tiny homes is that, oh yeah, it's so small, they're so easy to clean, like it takes 10 minutes to clean the whole house. Yeah, okay, but also it takes 10 minutes to get it dirty, and imagine like all of the wear and tear in your whole house consolidated into just your living room, like, because our house is the size of most people's living rooms, right? Every surface just kind of gets like worn down and dirtier, and just, yeah, it all happens a lot quicker. That's totally fine, it's what we signed up for, but just saying, they don't always talk about that. Today we're gonna fix that. Brandon is across the way getting a jump on helping Glenn tie up the lines to the little bolts that we put in the rock yesterday. I don't know exactly what you call those, shore tethers maybe. Once he gets over here, because he's got all the paint stuff, we will make this place look brand new. I'm excited. Let's go. Look at our beautiful, clean, freshly painted kitchen. Brandon said last night, we are filthy people.
Well, a lot of that box is all that dirt from the microgreens falls.
Yeah.
And you set stuff on it and it scrubs into the paint. It says the 2 wasn't waterproof. Well, the 2's what I looked at and it said waterproof, and it said it's got down, but the 3 is waterproof, but it doesn't have down.
Okay, welcome to my kitchen. I had the thought that it has been way too long since I did an episode of Why Not? Why Not, if you are new with us, is the cooking series where I try a new recipe, may or may not work out, and I take you guys along for the journey and we see how it goes. I laid all my ingredients out for you guys. Isn't that cute? It is a super dreary, yucky, wet, cold, rainy day, so what better to make than some soup? And I have to admit, this is not, I guess I'm cheating on the why not aspect because this is not 100% new to me. This is a recipe that Brandon and I used to cook. Like, we would perfect it, we would kind of taste test and figure it out. We probably made it 6 or 7 times until we got it perfect, like 4 years ago. But the problem is, we haven't made it since, and we never wrote it down. So I guess we're still going for it as a new recipe because I don't exactly remember it, and we're gonna try to figure it all out again, and I will write it down this time. Actually, I won't need to write it down. We'll have this video. So why not? What we are going for here is a roasted cauliflower soup. All right, 2 heads of cauliflower, that's kind of the base of the soup. We figured out that an onion really adds something to it. You gotta have garlic when you have onion, whatever kind of broth you like. And then these are the spices, salt to taste, but usually there's enough salt for me in broths that I don't feel like we need it. So we'll start by roasting our cauliflower.
Tunes and homemade booze, but it always goes too far. Shooting pool, crack a jack, take off now, and don't look back. But hey, don't you wanna play? Hold on, sugar, you look so sad. Come on now, mama, fast cars, movie
gonna let that simmer for 20-25 minutes. This is a lot lengthier cooking time than I would do for like any given night, but this recipe makes, at least for 2 people, this makes enough food for like multiple days. So it's more, in my mind, like meal prep than it is cooking dinner. Gosh, we haven't made this since before we moved on a floating cabin, before keeping afloat with the Joneses. Back then, I remember we would put the leftovers in Ziploc cords and put them in the freezer so that we didn't have to eat it like the very next night. We could eat it like a week later and then a week after that. It was kind of nice just to have this backup for a night that I didn't feel like cooking. Oh God. Choked on my own spit there. Sorry. Oh. Okay, all right, Brandon is just about back from taking Ico potty. I think you might be able to see him in the window, actually. So, it's dinner time. I'm gonna go ahead and plate this. Moment of truth.
Come on now, mama, don't you hesitate. Grab my hand, will we play?
Do what?
Ever get the feeling that we're just living in Bear's world and she does what she wants?
It's not a feeling, it's a fact. It's her world. We're just living in it.
Dog that you call it and it looks at you and you're like, come on, let's go, and it just and then about 5 minutes you start walking a little bit down the hill and you're like, come on, Bear, and she stops again. What's this taste like?
You're about to find out.
We didn't make enough for leftovers. Usually we make a ton of it.
What do you mean? That is a ton. That's like 4 inches deep.
All right, Danny.
Baby, sit down. I got this. I got this. Your butt's wet.
Hey, I live on a boat. I got a wet butt. Woo!
Oh my gosh, looking so delicious. On a whim, I'm also gonna add some thyme. Excuse me, thyme. Just, I don't know, it's calling me. All right, finished product. Looking delectable.
Amazon.
Bum, bada, bum, bum, bum. Let's get the inaugural why not taste test. Everybody knows Brandon doesn't lie.
Pretty good. Ooh, the garlic's strong.
Oh, hell yeah.
There ain't nobody gonna be around us for 3 days.
That is so hearty and comforting. That's just the right amount of heat, too, I feel like. I can't say for certain if this is the exact way we did it before, but whatever it is, it's great.
I think you did pretty good.
I figure we might as well try it. Why not?
Why not?
What are you doing?
Looks like newborn baby turkey. Edit, cut, take 2.
Yeah.